like this. I'm gonna tell you a story. I'm gonna tell you about my town. I'm gonna tell you a big bad story, baby. Yeah, it's all about my town. Yeah, down by the river, down by the banks of the river trough. Oh, that's a track, baby. That's where you find me, along with lovers, mothers, and thieves. All of their good people live. But I love that dirty water. Oh, Boston, you're my home.
The target speech is called Seek for Dream. Henry Jiang, Seek for Dream.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, about 2.5 months ago, I proudly announced to my wife I would enter the humorous speech contest. For a few moments, she was so silent, but then she suddenly burst into a laugh and said, "Harry, from the first time I met you, over 25 years, I never saw you being funny or humorous, except last year, when you told me you would enter the contest for international speech contest." You also whispered to me, over a lifetime, you would win the champion for public speech. Wow. You speak broken English with strong accent, but yet you have the guts for such a wide dream. Tell you what, you may win the contest. Oh, thank you, honey, for your confidence in me. Hold on. Only if all of the other contestants are Martian. That's how I came here, with my wife's encouragement. I want to talk about my dream, how I searched for dream. And because of that, I want to go back to my childhood. When I was very young, I had a dream. I wanted to be an archaeologist, but my typical Asian tiger parents killed my dream right away. I had to follow their dream. I entered a practical field, earned a PhD, and worked for a corporation many years just to make them happy, but not necessarily for myself. Because later I found out what? PhD stands for what? Permanent hair damage! That's it. Although my first dream was killed, never came true. I never stopped looking for my second, third dream. I finally found one around 2005. The corporation I was working for had an Asian affinity group. The president of that group one day talked to me. His name is David. He said, "Hey Henry, let me tell you something very interesting. Toastmaster." Hi David, what's that? Are you looking for somebody to take care of the bread toaster for the upcoming celebration party? I'm a lousy cook. Well, Henry, relax. We're not talking about anything about cooking. It's an international organization where you can practice your speech skill. Let me ask you a question, Henry. Tell me, what is the #1 reason some employees in our company, in specific for the Asian employee, they linger behind the career ladder? I have no idea. Tell you what. Because we lack communication skills, right? Oh yeah, you're right, David. If you think being smart and work hard, you will get promoted, that's far from truth. You have to hone in your communication skill. Is it right? Oh yeah, David. I was sold right away. David, I want to join the Toastmaster. That's how I joined. And my first speech, of course, icebreaker. When my name was announced, I was so stiff, nervous. I almost fell over my chair, and I struggled all of the way to the podium. And I opened my mouth, but words didn't come out for a few seconds. We're talking about silent movement like 1 century ago. I was sweating all over through the speech. During the middle of the speech, I knew I didn't perform very well. I realized that. I inched away from the lectern, decided I want to make up to show my great body language. But towards the end of the speech, I knew I need to go back to the lectern. But how could I get back? 10,000 miles. So hard for me. That was me in the first speech. The icebreaker did not break the ice, but it did break me. But I never stopped. I know. Practice makes it perfect or permanent. So I practiced again and again, and up to today, I can stand in front of an audience comfortably, deliver a speech. And I'm always happy to share with my wife about any of my progress. Actually, just a few weeks ago, I proudly told her, honey, I won my club level humorous speech contest. By the way, no Martians were in the contest at all. Wow, honey, you were the only contestant? Oh, congratulations! You know, over time, I have been taking roles, not only speakers, I have been taking evaluators and other roles. I still remember my first time as evaluator. Tell you what, I have many years of IT experience. I have been a software engineer for many years. I know how to debug a program. I know how to find anything imperfect from any software. So, I know how to do evaluation. I can find anything imperfect in your speech. I got you. The guy I was evaluating was delivering an icebreaker also. And by the end of his speech, I came up with a long list, 15 points for him to improve. And I went one by one. I noticed, wow, I just went one on one. For each one, his head was 1 inch lower. And by the 10th one, literally, his head was almost knocking the floor. Come on, man. You're twice big as I am. This way and that way. I did nothing except I said a bunch of words, sincere and truthful for you to improve. But in less than 2 minutes, you were devastated. After the meeting, the president of the club talked to me. Hey, Henry, thank you for stepping up as an evaluator. Can I make some suggestion for the future? That's how I've been learning. And to tell you what, fellow Toastmasters, over the years I have realized Toastmaster skills I will learn about public speech and communication skills are 100% transferable from career to career. I have been working for a corporation, and right now I'm a business owner. But the skill of communication is really transferred 100%. My technical skill may not be, but this skill is. That's why I want to encourage you guys to dream together with me. And I want to end my speech with a quote. Aim at the moon. If you miss it, you land on the start or the Mars. It's a pleasure.
Henry, I think you did a great job on presenting a very witty speech. I want to thank you for that speech. There were a lot of things that I really liked that you did. The first thing that you did that I thought really made your speech stand out is you had great body language. Your body language was awesome. I mean, throughout the speech, there was no way that my attention couldn't stay focused on you. You did different, things with your body, and it kept me, into you. Also, you also had great hand gestures. You weren't just moving your body, but you were doing a really good job as far as, doing things with your hands. And it really kept the audience intrigued. It kept us, focused on you. And the last thing that I think you did a really good job at is you had great projection. You knew the right times when to soften it up a little bit. And then you knew when to project and be loud. And that kept the audience, just really, there was really not a chance where I could look down. I just had to kind of stay focused on you to know what you were doing. You kept me alarmed, and I think you did a really good job at that. Some things that I think you could improve on is you did a really good job as far as sharing space with, moving side to side on the stage, and you were over here talking to this audience, and you were on the left-hand side talking. But I would have liked to see you do eye contact a little bit more, and just to give us a little bit more of Henry, and, just kind of focus on someone, talk a little bit to them, then maybe move and share. I think that really would have added a nice touch to your speech. I also think that at times you could have slowed down your pace. So the things that you were saying some really funny things that, kept us laughing, but it would have been nice to slow it down a little bit and give us the opportunity to hear what you're saying and take it in. Overall, I think you did a great speech. It was very witty, and I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Han Angera, evaluation contestant number 2. Evaluation contestant number 2, Han Angera.
Madam Toastmaster, distinguished dignitaries, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, it is a privilege to be able to evaluate the speech of Henry Jean. Henry, first I'm going to give you some pointers as to what were some of the really strong aspects of your speech, both creative and technical. And then I will give you some points as well on some of the things that you could have done to maybe take it to the next level. First of all, you start with a really strong introduction. You compelled us and you engaged us in such a way that the personal story of your wife, conversations, it actually was relevant to what we were all thinking, to what we all experienced as family members. So that conversations, I'm sure, has happened in other households. So that brought us in. The other thing, too, is that the content of your speech was relevant to everybody because it talked about trying to search for dreams. Don't we all try to search for dreams? And the struggles and also the experiences that we encounter in doing that. It also was relevant specifically to the members of Toastmasters here when you narrated your icebreaker experience, and you also narrated your evaluation experience, what you learned from that, and stringing through all of those was humor. Again, that kept us engaged in your speech. And then in the end, it all came full circle when you brought us back to the dream concept in terms of how we all would like to reach for the stars. One thing that I'd like to tell you about some of the technical aspects that were also strong were your facial expressions, your gestures. A couple of things, though, I think that could have taken it to the next level would be, I did think that maybe the cap could have been put aside a little bit because the shadow seemed to be hiding some of your facial expressions. Also pausing in certain parts to really delineate the different aspects of your life. So pauses will be very important. At the same time, voice modulation, so it emphasizes the different emotions that you encountered in different shades of them. But all in all, Henry, I was very entertained by your speech, and it was a privilege once again to be able to evaluate it. Madam
Ria
Toastmaster.
Joan. Evaluation contestant number 3, Ria Joan.
contest chair, fellow Toastmasters, and distinguished guest, and of course, you, Henry. Hey, being a fellow Asian, I totally get what you mean about being humorous, being expressive, and I loved the fact that this speech was a humorous speech. Hey, even though it's a target speech for the evaluation contest, I love all the sound bites that you delivered. You was telling us that your wife was saying that, hey, the only way you win the contest is if Martians are the only ones competing. Or when you took off your hat, it's like, PhD, permanent hair damage. Loved it. I mean, I wasn't the only one, audience members was bursting out of laughter. And you were very, very expressive. Again, kudos, because you're Asian. But yeah. Hey, I'm Asian, I'm allowed to make the Asian jokes. So you were telling the story, not just with your hands, your facial expressions, as well as body language. I loved the certain parts, you were like ducking and all that. I loved it. And you weaved in the conclusion back to the beginning of the story, which was about the aims, aiming high, and just having that, you know, introduction, body, conclusion. So I loved how you did that as well. And dress for success, you know. Even though you're a target speaker, you have to dress well, and you use your hat as a prop, not just your body, but as hat too. So some areas for possible, you know, improvements. First, staging. There's something that we always talk about. Staging is very important because you're using words to help us paint a mental picture of what your story is about. So when you do your story, start thinking. You have all this space. How do you want them to figure out where things are? You might want to start at the beginning, in the middle, where you talk about you and your wife and that story about you wanting to start the humor speech contest. And then go to your right, because that's the audience left. And then you do the chronological thing. This is where your childhood, you talk about childhood and then the PhD. And then go to the middle, where you talked with your colleague, David, about how he introduced Toastmasters to you. You need to develop clear areas in the audience mind as to exactly where is what. That way you can revisit the place when you want to reinforce a certain point. That brings me to the foundational phase. So what is the foundational phrase of your speech? What is the one sentence that captures the essence of your speech? I didn't feel like I had a clear idea of what exactly you were going for. Was it aim high? Was it have dreams? Was it Toastmasters awesome? I didn't know. And that ties into the third call to action. You had a call to action, but I think your call to action, which is your conclusion, will be a lot stronger if you have this foundational phase that you weaved in all throughout. All in all, I loved your speech. It was funny. Being Asian, I really appreciate it, and I look forward to hearing your next speech.
May we have 1 minute of silence while the judges mark their ballots. Dave Kluge, evaluation contestant number 4. Evaluation contestant number 4, Dave Kluge.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, and especially you, Henry. Thank you for that speech this evening. I've got to admire you for the courage to compete in a very difficult contest, the humorous speech contest, and doing well at it. Your speech today was reflective of your interest in public speaking with emphasis on humorous speaking. You had so many examples of using humor in your speech. And originally I was wondering, why does that guy have a hat on? And the explanation of that was very funny. Thank you for that. And you had some also other examples of good humor. Your style is unique, like all of us. The type of style that you have is you use a lot of gestures, and they are very expressive. So I think that's very beneficial to your style of speaking. Also, you have a very great degree of vocal variety. So one thing about listening to you, it's not boring listening to your speeches. There's one thing that I would consider possibly in future speeches to work on. The type of speaking that you have is short, rapid bursts. And in my opinion, I would try to work on that a little bit in your future speeches by slowing it down a little bit. And I think that would help the audience to understand your speeches a little bit better. For example, you had a story where you told your wife some good news. You could have said it this way: "Honey, I've got great news. I won the humorous speech contest, and it wasn't against Martians." Something slow like that would enable the audience to understand you more and get maximum laugh out of that story. So that would be a recommendation of mine. But other than that, I commend you for being involved in Toastmasters. It was an inspirational speech to all of us, and especially for those of us who want to speak with a great deal of humor. Madam Toastmaster.
May we have 1 minute of silence while the judges mark their ballots. Jesse Lee, evaluation contestant number 5. Evaluation contestant number 5, Jesse Lee.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and especially you, Henry. I really enjoy your speech. Therefore, as an evaluator, I prepare a list of 15 items for you. Of course, I'm kidding. I will not do that to you. Otherwise, it will be 15 inches shorter. I found out your speech was great because people keep laughing throughout the entire speech. Especially when you start with telling your wife, after 25 years marriage, that, honey, I'm going to the humor speech contest, and that bursts into her laughter, and of course our audience laugh about it. Your wife know you more than us. Then I was wondering, why you have your cap on? Because there's nobody wearing cap here. Then I found out that's your wonderful prop, because you want to take it off and show your damaged head. So those are the great points. Then I think your dream has come true, because you utilize the Toastmaster skill with great gesture, body language, and you move around. And you do have a vocal variety, but I have to say, in this such a huge room, sometimes your voice becomes too soft, and we cannot really understand or hear it properly. Fortunately, I sit on the second row. I capture everything you did. That would be the only area for improvement I can suggest. Then your speech have a great organization with a proper opening. Then during the transition, you go into your childhood, how you become a PhD, and then pursue your corporate professional job. At the end, you have another transition going very smooth, over the years. And you find out the Toastmaster really give you all you need, and it's also transferable to help you personally and professionally. And that conclusion really gave us a message to call for action, which is join the Toastmaster, enjoy it, learn all the skill you can. And I think, Harry, you master all this, and I think your dream has come true. So let's continue seek to dream like Harry does.
May we have 1 minute of silence while the judges mark their ballots. Sherry Jost, evaluation contestant number 6. Evaluation contestant number 6, Sherry Jost.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, dignitaries and guests, and especially Henry. Henry, when you came up on the stage with the hat on, I knew we had a good surprise in for us. I wasn't sure if you wore hats all the time, but I thought it was connected to your speech, and what a great speech you gave us. I really liked your intro, how you gave the story with your wife. You shared personal experience with us, and your humor came out right away, talking about, yeah, you'll win if they're with Martians. Now, to take your, I also found many things very impressive. Let me tell you a few of those. You have a great use of humor. I just talked about the Martians. You also talked about falling down. You talked about the podium being 1,000 miles away. And connected with that humor, you do great accentuation of your movements. when you were falling down, when it was far away. Sometimes you'd come in like this when you were afraid to tell something. You acted out many of the times of your past, and it really adds to the speech. A couple ideas for taking your speech to the next level. First, your projection. I believe people could hear you, and you do have good vocal variety, especially when it was going down. And you would whisper about some stories. But on the louder end of the spectrum, I think you could improve with much more projection and just really give it a bang on some of those whopping jokes you have. One other idea is the eye contact. You certainly do scan the audience as you moved, and I saw you making eye contact, but I've also known about eye contact can be very dynamic if you have contact with one person for 3-4 minutes. Then when you change the thought, you have contact with another person for 3 or 4 minutes. It really brings the audience into you. Henry, thank you for a wonderful speech at this contest. I want to dream with you and with Toastmasters, and I'm ready to go to the moon or Mars.
Everyone, please remain silent while the judges complete their ballots and have them collected by the ballot counters.
Madam Toastmaster, the ballots have been collected.
So we've already heard about the upcoming District 30 event at the end of October. I'd like to call Michelle Cable back to talk a little bit about the education awards that might be given at that conference. Michelle?
Okay,
fabulous ad-libbing. So let me just tell you a little bit about the special awards that you can get. In addition to the speech contest winners that will get, of course, first, second, and third place with our fabulous brand new trophies, brand new TI trophies, we will also have a special brand new pin for those achievers who come to the Achiever Breakfast. And I know for those of you who collect the pins, you cannot wait to achieve one. And for those of you who have earned 3 educational awards between the beginning of this Toastmaster year, July 1, and October 20th, you will get a brand new Triple Crown pin, which is, of course, a crown, but this time with rhinestones. How cool is that? I know, bling is a big thing. On top of all these fabulous awards and exciting things, we have another special event that I forgot to mention earlier, but we can't miss. And I know that's because Anne did not want to pass the buck to me so that I would have extra cash to use in this other event. At the conference, once again, we're going to have our silent auction. And the silent auction chair is Charles, who's not in the room at the moment, but he will be collecting things from all the clubs to sell to other Toastmasters, which is why Anne is keeping her dollar this time, so that she can buy the special gifts from the silent auction, where those dollars will be used for special membership opportunities and educational events like this one for all of you. So is that exciting or what? Yes. Yay! People in the back. Yay! More? Okay. I'll just keep talking. In addition to the fall conference on October 27th, we have our upcoming Winter Toastmasters Leadership Institute on December 1st, another Saturday. So the theme, of course, is if you have nothing to do on Saturday, you can always find a Toastmasters event to go to. Who wouldn't want to spend their weekend on Toastmasters? It's December 1st at the Skokie Holiday Inn from very early in the morning until late afternoon. We will have a plethora, big MBA word. Word of the day, plethora. Plethora of educational learning opportunities for you to learn from other Toastmasters, and now we're bringing in professional speakers and authors to help our members and guests have the opportunity to learn more. So if you're not busy on Saturday, you should mark your calendar to be in Skokie, which is very nearby, to have a fabulous opportunity at the Toastmasters Winter TLI, again, December 1st, from early in the morning until late afternoon at that event. And that is it, and now I'm turning it back to Madam Toastmaster. Thank you so very much. Tim would like to make a 15-second announcement.
Okay. First of all, I must apologize for being late. I didn't get the speaker, so if anybody has some footage of the speech, I'd much appreciate it to complete my video. Second of all, this will be taped and put out live on the internet through a site. See me if you want, if you've been a contestant, see me afterwards and I'll tell you where to get an advanced copy before they're released publicly. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. At this time, we are taking the much-needed break. And our break is how long, Jane? We're doing a 5-minute break, and we will expediently get on with the humorous speech contest. 5-minute break.
Okay.